The Vertical Reading Room is a global book community created for individuals without access to books, but they can hear books, and which is good for them to stay engaged with the world. And most of our audience are mature adults, which is really good, that really, really love books. So we are part of this fall season's The Book Fest, which is given by Black Chateau Enterprises in Los Angeles. And we are being presented by the Horror Writers Association of Los Angeles chapter and the Vertical Life magazine. So we wanted to get some authors to come on and do some short readings on scary stories or mysteries or thrillers. And so today we have author Kenneth Weene. Kenneth Weene is a New Englander by birth, who is a Arizona transplant now. Him and his wife. He is an author, an educator, and a psychotherapist. And he is a very prolific writer and poet. And so today he's going to read to us from one of his scary stories. And we're going to also talk about some of his other books. So today, Ken, welcome today for being a part of our program today. And I have a question for you. I have a great question for you, for our audience. So what inspires you to write so much?
Well, it's either writing or, kind of whacking in my head, because I got all these voices up here.
Right.
So it makes more sense to write down what they're telling me, because, after a while you get a headache slapping yourself.
Right, right. And
I wanted to thank you, particularly, although I do write some horror and stuff, I don't write a lot of it, but I do love Halloween. And I know you're doing this for the Halloween. And of course, this is our family holiday. It is named for the Weene family.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you knew that or not. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Can I take a moment to explain?
Sure,
that?
I would love to hear that.
Well, the Weenes are originally from Transylvania. And yes, that is a real place. It's now part of Romania. But back when my ancestors came to the United States, it was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Well, anyway, the Weenes were not particularly nice people. In fact, they kind of rank on a scale with Vlad the Impaler, who was also known as Dracula among Romanians. And when they decide, well, they didn't actually decide. To be honest with you, they were so disliked that the people there in Transylvania kind of showed them the door. Matter of fact, they showed them the door with pitchforks and torches and stakes. So the Weenes ran and ended up in the United States. And on that fateful night, when my ancestors did leave Transylvania, running for their lives, as it were, all of the people with their pitchforks and their torches and all of this stuff started yelling, "Hallelujah, the Weenes are gone! Hallelujah, the Weenes are gone!" Halloween.
Okay.
I really love every year that we celebrate our family holiday.
All right. Okay. That's a good one. That's great. That's great. Well, I'm glad I got you to come on and read for our Halloween program in the reading room. What are you going to read for us today? And tell us a little bit about maybe the synopsis or just a little bit about it.
Well, I'm going to read a short story / prose poem that actually is the first piece in a small collection of my short stories, which is available in Kindle format. The book itself is called Sweet and Sour. And the title of this short piece is Dark Wanton. And I have to tell people that Sweet and Sour made it onto Kindle, actually through with Celeste's help. I don't think I ever would have gotten it on there. And so, of course, she has heard and read this story before, but it is one I love to do because it allows me to do dialect.
Okay, great.
Dark wanton. The ear's so thick, you can almost see the old box fan I got at the thrift agitating again it. The moon so bright it lights the way to Babylon, yet hazed enough to call out spirit dead and set that dread that's buried in the human heart to stirring with screams and sobbings of despair, whilst horses dance about with nervous hoofs and dogs bay long and low, defend such evil as about us in the damp night swirls. In the valley, riding his old black Ford, the Baptist preacher sways and rocks again the rusted door till it near bursts. To dump him in the creek where trout and pickerel can nibble his fat toes like the worms we dig in Uncle Jethro's garden, whilst he smokes his pipe and pretends what he don't see. That preacher saves himself by swerving the wheel and bouncing up the rud like he's riding a chariot of death. Come for the old woman Jones, who's busy with dying and still taking her time as if for to wait on his coming. That preacher ain't a racing to save no souls, leastwise not hers. There ain't not one person in all these hills who don't know and hate on her for being nasty mean. If it weren't for her potions and herbs, there's not a man or woman who'd have truck with her at all. But them potions and herbs do hold the power. Power to heal and power to make a person sick and die. That's how she lives so long, longer than most and longer than she ever served. But even them that knows witching die, and dying's what she's doing now. The preacher, he's got a fierce wanting after her potions and things she knows. Thinks maybe she'll give him the teaching before she passes on. So he is bouncing and jouncing along that rud, hurrying to the crone's place, hurrying to beat out old Lucifer and his sulphurous horde, hurrying to talk that old woman out of all her knowing, and all that time up on the spring hill, up while the trees turn from aspen and alder to pine and hemlock, up where the streams start up and bubble their ways down to that creek. An old black bar was snuffing the wind and looking to mate. When an old bar has that urge, why, best stay clear and let him satisfy the want. Off he roams and down that hill, shuffling and not caring one bit about naught but finding what he's been wanting. Seems like there's a wanting in all nature. The parson is wanting something evil and wrong, but full of power. The bar is after something too, wanting and wanting. The one's jouncing and bouncing up a rutted rud, the other pushing and growling down the stream. Farther up on that rud, well past where across the crook, where a car can ford it easy, that old woman, she sets up and starts in laughing like the devil's tickling at her feet, rocking and laughing like there ain't no end in sight. All of a sudden, she keels over and she's gone wherever her light goes. And down that rud, there at that ford, the preacher's car and the black bar come together with a bang and a howl. The bar run off. No rut this night. The car is dead. They'll need a team to pull her out. And that preacher, well, he's dead too. Blood and bits of brain all about. Some have gone to feed the fish. Toes or brains worm a man. Well, was a fish to know or care.
That's great, Ken. That was really great. And definitely it's going to be really nice to see this being played through the weekend, through next week to Halloween. I'm really going to enjoy it. And then I'm going to also share the video at some point too, because that was probably one of my favorite videos that I saw, Dark Wanton. So thank you for reading that to us today. So we were saying that you're such a prolific writer. Let's talk about some of your other books.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I want to mention, since you said many of your listeners are not able at this point to read,
Yes.
that there are a lot of my stories and poems and things available on sound for free. Actually, many of them on YouTube, if you look for my name on YouTube. And also, some of my books are available in audio. Sadly, not all of them, but some. And I do hope people will avail themselves of that. So yeah, I've written a number of books. Most of my novels and a couple of my short 99-cent books on Kindle are published by All Things That Matter Press, a small press back up east in Maine. Of course, I call myself the Broody New Englander. I'm not always broody, folks, but that's what I call myself. And they have published a lot of my books. There are a couple others, one in particular called the Broody New Englander. I published myself so I could get it out more cheaply because I wanted people to be able to buy it. It's a collection of 2 novellas and a long short story. I'm not sure quite where the dividing point is.
Right.
And it starts about love and goes into these really dark places. And one of my editors said to me that he thought that was the book that someday they'll be studying in graduate schools.
Okay.
Which I thought was a nice compliment. I also have, as I mentioned, Sweet and Sour, which is a small collection of my short stories. And then there is one play which I co-authored with a friend from Nigeria. And that one is published by an African publishing house. And I always like to mention Ashes because I loved co-authoring this with Omai. It was really fun to do that.
Okay.
So, and as I said earlier, I'm driven. I really am driven to write. Now I'm working on a collection of poetry. I have to figure out how to get it published. But in the interim, I'm writing more poetry, and some of it I think is getting pretty good.
Okay. Right. Okay. So what when you write poetry, is it from memory or past reflections, or do you see things and decide to write poetry on it?
All of the above and more. The poem that I had most recently been finishing up is called Brothers. It takes place on an island someplace south of Italy, a small island, and it's about these twin brothers and their lives. And I'll just read to you the epigraph that caused it. Okay, I was reading a book called The Trouble with Being Born, which is by a Hungarian. I should mention this because I don't know that he's from Transylvania, but he is Hungarian. And then he wrote but he migrated to France, which is where he wrote. His name is E.M. Siren. And here's the little epigraph that got me writing this poem.
Okay.
Not to have been born, merely musing on that. What happiness, what freedom, what space. And out of that came this story, which is, it's a fairly long poem. It's actually considerably longer than Dark Warning.
Okay.
And it is just about the pain of the lives of these two brothers, and you know how it happened.
Okay.
I don't know what'll happen with the poem. I mean, you know, I'll try and get it published, of course, and some of my poetry has been published in magazine, or it'll join this collection that I hope I'll somehow get published. But you know, I don't know where the ideas come from. Now, my last book, full book, is about a Native American,
Right.
at least he thinks he's a Native American boy, growing up in the 19th century,
Okay.
who goes to the Indian schools. And you know, that's a beautiful, beautiful story. Well, I channeled that.
Okay.
I heard the story in my head being told to me. And the funny thing was that the voice did not identify itself until I was at the end. Well, he had given me a name, but you know, then when I was ready to finish up the story, and my protagonist, Lonely Cricket, is at the end of his journey, the person who is telling me the story that I'm channeling says, you know, I lied to you because I didn't want you looking up my story.
Oh, okay.
I'm really Plenty Horses. And
Okay.
I went to look for Plenty Horses. Now, understand, I had told this whole story about, and it included Lonely Cricket going to the Carlisle Indian School, meeting this person, and then this person being present at, you know, the Wounded Knee, the massacre there. So it really, like, you know, all come together. And then I look up, and who's Plenty Horses? He's somebody from the Lakota who went to, it's like, oh,
Okay. Wow.
Somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and, oh, by the way, the name of that novel is Red and White.
Okay.
And it really is, unfortunately, they have not made it into an Audible, but it is just, I think, a wonderful, wonderful book.
Okay. We're going to post some promos of Ken's books on the reading room, and we're also going to make sure that you know that you can go to Ken's website, which is www.kennethweene.com. And a lot of great stuff on there, so please go on there, and we're going to make sure that we also promote this on the reading room as well. So any last words for us, Ken?
Well, two words. First of all, I want to mention, because it's a unique, my last name is spelled W-E-E-N-E.
Okay.
And my family is the only one who used that spelling.
All right.
Make
Okay.
it very easy to find me on, you know, not only on Amazon and my website, but on YouTube, but also Facebook or Twitter if you'd like to connect.
Okay.
And the other thing I want to say is that while I am a broody person, a broody New Englander, I really have to say that very little in my life gives me as much joy as sharing my writing with people. And I'd like to invite you, please, if you have a reaction to this story or questions or whatever, please do go to my website and use the contact form and give me feedback.
Great. Great. Thank you again, Ken, for being on our program today. I'm looking forward to sharing this on the Vertikal Reading Room and appreciate your time.
Thank you.